The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23, 1-3. The evening had already settled over the hills. A soft hush wrapped around the earth like a warm shawl laid over tired shoulders. And in a quiet corner of the village, an old man named Eli sat by the hearth. The coals were low, but they glowed like tiny suns. He wasn't cold. Not exactly. Just weary. You know, the kind of tired that doesn't come from walking too far or lifting something heavy. It's the tiredness that settles behind the eyes. The ache of years. The ache of waiting. Eli had been a carpenter once. Steady hands, strong back, good eyes. He had carved tables that still stood straight and firm in neighbors' kitchens. He had shaped wood into cradles and crosses, into doors that closed smooth and silent. But now, his tools sat untouched. His shop had gone quiet. He lived alone now, not bitterly, not even sadly, just quietly. Most evenings he would light a small lamp. He didn't need the light, but something about the way it flickered reminded him of something deeper, something eternal, something holy. Tonight, the lamp trembled with the breeze. Eli leaned back in his chair, folded his hands, and whispered, "Are you still near, Lord?" No answer came, not in words, but a warmth crept up through the soles of his feet, up into his chest. He closed his eyes. Take a deep breath. Rest here for a moment. There are nights when we wonder if we've done enough, said enough, loved enough. But God does not measure us with scales. He wraps us in mercy. He sits beside us even in our silence. Eli didn't know it yet, but tonight the Lord would visit him. Not in a dream, not in thunder, but in a quiet story that unfolded slowly, like an old scroll unrolling in steady hands. Tonight was not the end of anything. It was simply a resting place, a place to remember that even in old age, we are not forgotten. Even in silence, we are spoken to. Bedtime takeaway. You are not forgotten. The shepherd still watches over you. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. The wind had calmed outside, just a gentle breath now, brushing across the stone walls of Eli's home. The lamp flickered once more, and then steadied. Its small flame held firm, like a watchful eye. Eli sat without moving. The old chair creaked under him, a familiar sound, like the voice of an old friend. His fingers traced the rim of his cup, long since emptied of tea. He wasn't trying to stay awake, but something in him didn't want to sleep yet. Not just yet. He had begun to think more often of his younger days, not out of regret, but with the soft curiosity of someone rereading a favorite page. He remembered the first door he ever built, the way it fit just right into the stone frame. He remembered how his wife, Miriam, had leaned against it that night, laughing as she watched the stars. She'd been gone 10 winters now, and still, sometimes when he closed his eyes, he could feel her hand in his. Tonight, though, something felt different, like a presence in the room, and not frightening or not startling, just known. He turned slightly toward the empty chair across from him, the one he never moved, the one that had always been Miriam's. And then he heard it, a voice, quiet as breath, firm as earth. Eli, his name, spoken like a song he hadn't heard in years. He didn't startle, He didn't move, because deep down, he had been waiting for this. "I am here," he whispered, not with fear, but with faith. The lamp glowed a little brighter, the warmth on his skin deepened, and in that moment, the quiet became a sanctuary. It wasn't the voice of a man, not exactly. It wasn't memory either. It was the kind of voice that spoke to the inside of a person, to the part of you that aches when you smile, the part that listens in the stillness and hopes someone is listening back. "Eli, you've done well." The voice paused. "There is peace for you now. You don't have to hold everything anymore." Eli's eyes brimmed. He hadn't known how heavy his heart had become. Not until the words lifted it. He leaned back in the chair, not to sleep, not yet, but to rest. To receive, to remember what it means to be known and still loved. Take a deep breath. Let the night hold you. You are not alone in this room, even if the chair across from you seems empty. There is a voice, still speaking, still loving, still calling your name. Bedtime takeaway. God speaks even in silence. He knows your name. He counts the number of the stars. He gives names to all of them. Psalm 147:4. That night, Eli stepped outside. He didn't know why, only that something inside him asked him to look up. The air was cool, the kind that wakes you gently, not with sharpness but with a hush. Like stepping into a cathedral made of sky. He stood at the edge of the little path behind his house, his worn sandals resting in the dust, his eyes slowly lifting. Above him, the stars shimmered like a memory too old to name, and yet somehow still familiar. When he was a boy, he used to lie in the fields and count them. He never got very far, but it wasn't about the counting, was it? It was about feeling small and somehow safe in that smallness. Back then, he believed God lived up there, somewhere behind the brightest one. He'd whisper his prayers to the stars, thinking they were messengers with wings of fire. Now, as an old man, he wondered, had he stopped speaking to the stars? Or had he just forgotten that they still listened? He whispered, "I'm still here, Lord." And the wind answered by wrapping around his shoulders like a shawl. The stars above didn't blink. They watched. They knew. Because somehow, somewhere in God's keeping, there was a name written for each of them. And if God remembers the name of each star, each distant flicker in the night, then surely he remembers Eli, and you, and me, and every quiet soul who stands outside under a sky so wide it could swallow up sorrow and never grow full. Eli stood a little longer, until the cold touched his bones. Then he turned to go inside, not quickly, not reluctantly, but with a quiet sense that someone had just told him, "I see you." Take a deep breath. Look up if you can. Let the stars speak softly to your heart. You are known. You are counted. You are named. Bedtime takeaway. You are not forgotten. God calls even the stars by name, and He calls you too. Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. Isaiah 46:4. Eli sat by the lamp again. The stars still hung outside his window like soft beads of light. But now, inside, there was only the hush of night. He rested his hands on his lap. They were quiet hands, tired hands, weathered like the bark of an old olive tree. Hands that had held a chisel and hammer. Hands that had held a baby once, small and wrapped in wool. Hands that had dug graves. hands that had touched the edge of a prayer shawl while whispering, "Thank you." They trembled now, just a little. Not from fear, not from cold, but from remembering so many years, so many moments folded into skin and bone. Sometimes he would stare at them as if they weren't his, as if they belonged to someone else who had done all that work, all that loving, all that letting go. He rubbed his palms together slowly, then turned one upward and looked closely. A scar near the base of his thumb. He got it shaping the leg of a bench too quickly, years ago. It had bled a lot then, but it stayed. Funny how pain becomes part of you. Not to harm, but to remind. He thought of Miriam's hand, soft, strong, always busy. She used to place her palm gently over his when he worried. She didn't say much, just touched. That's all he needed. Now he looked up and said softly into the warm air, "Do you still hold me like that, Lord?" There was no voice this time, only the memory of touch, like warm oil poured over tired skin, and a truth rising in him, not from the mind, but from the marrow. He had never been out of those hands. Even now, even here, he closed his eyes, and the lamp flickered as if bowing in reverence. Take a deep breath. Rest your hands. They've done enough. Let yourself be carried tonight. The one who made you has not let you go. Bedtime takeaway. You are held, even in weariness, his hands carry you. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. There was a small room at the back of Eli's home. It didn't hold much. A bench, an old folded blanket, a wooden shelf with a few jars, some herbs, some oils, and a bit of old lavender tucked in a bowl. And in the corner, a scroll. It wasn't a special scroll, not the kind that belonged to the synagogue, just a portion of the Psalms, written by hand many years ago. His father had copied it, line by line, before Eli was even born. Eli came into this room often, not to read, but to be still. He called it the room of quiet things. No one else had ever really known about it. It wasn't hidden, but it was personal. He stepped inside now, carrying only a candle. The flicker lit up the old clay walls in golden sighs. Everything smelled of oil and dust and memory. He sat down slowly on the bench and laid the candle on a flat stone near his feet. How many nights had he sat here? Too many to count. This was where he came when the world felt too loud, too heavy, too confusing. Not to escape, but to listen. There's something about a quiet room, isn't there? No one asking, no one telling, just a soft waiting. Like the room itself is praying with you. Eli reached for the scroll and unrolled it carefully. His fingers moved over the words he already knew by heart. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. He stopped. Let the words rest. Not everything had to be finished. Not every line needed reading tonight. Sometimes one line is enough. He looked around the room. Nothing had changed, but somehow it felt deeper tonight, like something holy was sitting with him, not speaking, just being. He placed the scroll back gently, as if laying it to sleep, then leaned his back against the wall and closed his eyes. Not to sleep, not yet, just to be still. And in the silence, he let the room hold him, the soft candlelight, the hush of dust, the breath of peace. Take a deep breath. You don't have to say anything tonight. You don't have to do anything either. Just be here, in the room of quiet things. God is already here. Bedtime takeaway. You don't need to perform for God, just being with Him is enough. Give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:11. The next morning came gently. Soft light touched the edges of the window, not bright, not insistent. Just enough to wake the corners of the room with a whisper. Eli stirred in his chair. He hadn't meant to sleep there, but somehow it had been enough. He stood slowly, stretched his arms, and made his way to the small wooden table where a cloth-covered basket waited. Inside it, a piece of yesterday's bread. Not fresh, little dry, but still warm at the center. He broke it in half, took a small bite, and chewed slowly. There had been days in his life when the bread had been abundant, fresh from the oven, soft, and shared with many. And there had been other days, quiet ones, when even this crust would have felt like a feast. He poured a bit of olive oil into a shallow dish, dipped the bread, and took another bite. It wasn't about the bread. It was about the remembering. Each morning, God had provided, even when it seemed like nothing was left. Somehow, something had always come. Not always what he expected, but enough. Always enough. He looked at his hands again, holding this simple food, and he prayed not with words but with stillness. A prayer of breath, a prayer of thanks. He remembered the manna in the wilderness. He remembered his mother praying as she kneaded dough in the early morning light. He remembered the laughter of his grandchildren when they used to come visit, smearing honey across thick slices, leaving sticky fingerprints behind. All of it sacred, even the crumbs, especially the crumbs. Sometimes he thought God was most near in the smallest things. The leftover bread, the soft flicker of a candle, the warmth of a memory that comes uninvited but needed. He finished the last bite, and with it, a quiet resolve settled in him. Not every day needed to be grand. Not every prayer needed a miracle. Sometimes just waking, just breathing, just breaking bread was holy. Take a deep breath. Let today be simple. Let the crumbs be enough. Let the quiet be your prayer. God is already present in the small. Bedtime takeaway. You don't need more to be blessed. God meets you in the little things, as one whom his mother comforts. So I will comfort you. Isaiah 66:13. It was tucked in the old chest by the bedroom wall, folded carefully, though time had softened its edges. Eli reached for it that afternoon. His hands brushed over the wool, worn but still warm, still holding the scent of lavender and smoke. Miriam had made it the first winter they were married. She'd spun the yarn herself, dyed it with leaves and berries, then stitched each edge with her small, careful hands. She'd laughed the first time he wrapped it around himself. "You look like a shepherd," she'd said. "Maybe I am," he'd answered. "Just one with no sheep." But she had looked at him, her eyes steady, and whispered, "You shepherd more than you know." He hadn't understood her then, not fully. But now, years later, he did. He had shepherded a life. He had guided his family through lean years. He had carved out peace in a world that often pressed too hard. He had sat with the sick, stood with the grieving, held the crying. He had carried more than he realized. And now, as he wrapped the blanket around his shoulders once more, he felt her there, not in some strange way, just in the quiet knowing. She had left this gift behind, not for decoration, but for comfort. He walked slowly to the bench outside, The sun was low, brushing the sky with a soft golden hush. He sat down, the blanket draped over him like a gentle embrace. How many people had walked past homes like his and never known the quiet love living within them? He closed his eyes. Sometimes what we need most isn't to be told everything will be okay. We just need to be held by memory, by love, by God. And somehow, this blanket, this breeze, this late afternoon light, it all held him. Take a deep breath. Let the blanket of God's presence rest on your shoulders. You've carried many things. Now, let yourself be comforted. Bedtime takeaway. God remembers the ones you've loved, and He wraps you in that same love. His mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 23. There was a small window in Eli's home, the one that faced the east. It didn't look like much from the outside, just a square cut into stone, framed with wood darkened by years of wind and sun. But every morning, it was the first place light would find. Not loudly, not with drama, just that first quiet gleam, like God brushing His hand across the earth to say, "I'm here again." Eli had placed his table beneath it years ago. He liked to sit there with his morning tea, watching the sun wake the sky, the olive branches outside moving like slow dancers in the breeze. It reminded him that time still moved forward, even when the heart felt stuck. This morning, as he sat there with the blanket still around his shoulders, the light touched his face gently. He didn't look at it right away. He just felt it, like being kissed on the forehead by someone who knows your whole story and loves you still. After a while, he turned and gazed through the window. The hills were soft with haze. The trees shimmered with dew. Birdsong, far off, filled the gaps where words weren't needed. He remembered again that this light, this gift of morning, had come even when he didn't ask for it. He didn't earn it. He didn't summon it. It came because mercy does. It comes quietly, faithfully, even when we sleep, even when we doubt. Eli closed his eyes and whispered, "Thank you for another morning." He didn't ask for anything else, because that was enough. Just another morning. Just one more chance to breathe, to be, to listen. Take a deep breath. Let the light touch you. Let it whisper its soft promise. Today is not empty. You are still being held. Mercy has found you again. Bedtime takeaway. Each morning is mercy. You are not forgotten through the night. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Psalm 27:10. Eli wasn't expecting anyone. He rarely did these days. The world had grown quieter around him, not sad, not bitter, just slower. Letters had stopped arriving years ago. Footsteps on the path had grown rare. Most of those he loved had already gone ahead, or now lived far down the winding hills beyond his reach. Still, he kept a second cup in the cupboard. He kept an extra chair beside the hearth. And when he made stew, he always stirred just enough for two. It wasn't habit, it was hope. And one evening, as the light faded and the fire hummed gently, there came a knock. Soft, uncertain. Eli blinked, set his spoon down slowly, and stood. At the door stood a boy no more than 16, with dust on his tunic and kindness in his eyes. "Are you Eli?" he asked. Eli nodded. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The boy smiled awkwardly, rubbing his hands together. "My mother used to talk about you. She said you carved her wedding table before I was born. Eli stepped aside. "Come in then," he whispered. "As long as you're not too proud to share an old man's stew." The boy laughed, and something deep inside Eli stirred. Not pain, not nostalgia, something softer. They ate together in the quiet. The boy spoke gently, asking about tools, about wood, about how to make things that last. Eli didn't boast, he just shared what he knew. And before the boy left, he stood in the doorway, the same golden dusk behind him that had blessed Eli so many evenings now. "Thank you," the boy said. "My mother. She always said you were the kindest man she knew." Eli's eyes misted. He didn't say anything for a moment, then only this: "You came right on time." The boy didn't understand, not fully, but he nodded. And when he left, Eli stood for a long while watching the trail where the dust settled behind him. Sometimes love circles back. Sometimes mercy wears a young face, and sometimes the visit you stopped hoping for comes anyway. Take a deep breath. Let your heart remember it's never too late for kindness, and no moment is too small to carry God's love. Bedtime takeaway. God can still surprise you. Hope may knock when you least expect it. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The house was silent again. The boy had gone. The stew pot was empty. The extra chair stood quietly in its corner, as if tucking itself back into waiting. Eli sat by the fire. His hands rested gently on his lap. No carving tools tonight, no scroll, not even tea. Just silence. But it wasn't empty. There are different kinds of silence, some heavy, some lonely, some sharp. But this one, this silence was soft. It breathed. It welcomed. Eli had learned over the years that prayer wasn't always words. Sometimes prayer was breath. Sometimes prayer was sitting still, not asking, not explaining, just being with God. He remembered long ago trying to fill every space with talking, making sure to say all the right things, asking for everyone he loved, naming every need. And that was good. It was faithful. But now, he understood something deeper, that the space between prayers was also sacred, that the pauses, the sighs, the stillness between spoken words were places God leaned in close. "Tonight," Eli whispered only once, "I'm here, Lord." And then he said nothing more. The fire crackled quietly. The wind outside was slow like a lullaby, and the air seemed to settle like a robe across his shoulders. He didn't try to hear anything back. He didn't need to, because the silence was full. Take a deep breath. Let go of the need to say everything. Let go of the pressure to feel something. Let stillness be your prayer. God hears even your silence. Bedtime takeaway. You don't need many words. God understands the quiet between them. The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you with his love. Zephaniah 3:17. That morning the wind did not move. It simply rested as if it, too, needed a Sabbath. The trees outside stood still, their leaves folded like hands in prayer. Even the birds took longer pauses between songs, letting the silence fill in the spaces. Eli noticed it right away. He stood at the doorway, his blanket over one shoulder, his hands curled gently around a warm cup. He looked out toward the olive grove, and for the first time in a long while, nothing moved. Not a branch, not a petal, not even the air itself. And rather than feeling eerie, it felt holy, the kind of stillness you don't interrupt. the kind of quiet that carries weight, like an old book or a long look from someone who loves you. He stepped outside barefoot. The stone beneath his feet was warm. He walked a little way down the path, not far, just to feel the hush up close. It was as though the whole world had taken a deep breath and held it, waiting. But waiting for what? Eli stood still, closing his eyes, letting the quiet wrap around him. And then he felt it. Not a voice, not a sign, just a presence. Thick as olive oil, gentle as a mother's hand, sure as the sunrise. He didn't ask questions, he didn't need answers. He just let himself be quieted. There had been years in his life when storms howled, loss, illness, long nights that refused to end. But now, this moment, this windless morning, it was a gift, and gifts do not need to be explained, only received. He opened his eyes, whispered, "Thank you," and slowly turned back toward the house. The wind would return later. It always did. But today he had been held by stillness. Take a deep breath. Let the quiet stay a little longer. Let it calm the anxious places within you. Let yourself be stilled by love. Bedtime takeaway. Even when nothing moves, God is with you. His quiet love holds you still. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your wonders of old. Psalm 77:11. In the corner of Eli's room, tucked beneath a low shelf, there was a narrow wooden drawer. He didn't open it often, not because he had forgotten it, but because some memories are soft enough to leave folded. The drawer had no lock, just a small round handle, smooth from years of fingertips. It slid open with a sigh, as if even it remembered. This afternoon, with the wind still gentle and time moving slowly, Eli reached down and opened it. Inside were only a few things: a baby's wool slipper, a note in Miriam's handwriting, the ink faded like morning mist, a feather striped with gray, a smooth stone from the riverbed near their first home, and a photograph creased and yellowed of 3 children laughing in a field. He touched each item carefully, not rushing, not needing to speak. They were small, but heavy with meaning. Not because of what they were, but because of what they carried. Eli held the slipper in his hand. It belonged to their first son, who only lived for a few weeks. Too small for the world, but never too small for love. Miriam had kept it, not to mourn, but to remember that even a short life can leave a lasting warmth. He unfolded the note. "Don't forget to rest today. I love you. M." Simple, ordinary, but to Eli it was sacred. He smiled, then placed the paper back. The feather was from a bird that used to visit their windowsill each morning for crumbs. Miriam had named it Teacher, because it always arrived exactly when the day needed stillness. The stone. He couldn't explain the stone, only that it had felt right to pick it up that day. And that somehow, it still held peace. He looked at the photo last. 3 children, his grandchildren, years ago. 2 of them had children of their own now. 1 had moved far away. He hadn't seen them in some time, but he hadn't stopped loving them. He closed the drawer gently, like tucking a child into bed. Some people carry memories loudly, but Eli carried his quietly, like treasures whispered into his soul by God. Not every memory needs to be spoken. Some are prayers. Take a deep breath. Let your memories rest softly beside you tonight. They are not gone. They are kept by you and by the one who sees it all. Bedtime takeaway. Your memories are safe. God remembers them with you. The Lord will give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. Psalm 29:11. The sun was settling low behind the hills, casting long shadows through the olive trees. Eli sat on the old wooden bench outside his door. The blanket from Miriam wrapped around his shoulders, and the evening air was cool against his face. He didn't sing much anymore, not out loud, but in his heart there was a song soft and steady like the pulse of the earth itself. It was a song about rest, about letting go, about trusting a love deeper than time. Sometimes when the breeze whispered through the leaves, it felt as though the trees were singing it with him. A quiet melody, unspoken but known. He closed his eyes and let the song rise, not with words but with breath, not with noise but with peace. The day had been full, not with work but with thought and memory and prayer. And now it was time to rest. The stars would come soon. The night would hold its secrets and its promises. Eli let the evening carry him like a lullaby, a gentle hand guiding him towards sleep. Take a deep breath. Let your soul sing its quiet song. Let peace fill the spaces where worry once lived. Let the night bring healing. You are safe. You are loved. And all is well. Bedtime takeaway. God's peace sings softly within you. Rest in his song tonight. The Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groans that words cannot express. Romans 8:26. Eli felt the rhythm of his own breath, slow and steady, like the gentle rise and fall of waves on a calm sea. Sometimes he thought that breath was the loudest prayer he had. No need for words, no need for ceremony, just the simple gift of being alive, here, now. His heart beat quietly beneath his chest, each pulse a reminder of God's unseen presence, working softly, endlessly, carrying what words cannot hold. He had learned this over many years, that sometimes the deepest prayers are not spoken aloud. They are whispered in the spaces between breaths, in the silent groans of the soul. Tonight, Eli breathed slowly. He felt the Spirit walking beside him, holding his hand even when he couldn't see, and that was enough. Take a deep breath. Feel the Spirit near. Let the silence between your heartbeats be a sacred space. Let your soul rest in God's gentle care. You are never alone. Bedtime takeaway. Even your silence is heard by God. Rest in his Spirit tonight. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Night had deepened outside Eli's window. The stars scattered like gentle sparks across the velvet sky. Inside, a single candle flickered softly. Its light danced on the walls, casting shadows that moved like whispers. Eli sat close to the window, watching the quiet play of light and dark. He thought about how often life feels like that, a delicate balance between hope and fear, between the bright and the shadowed places within us. But even in the deepest dark, there was always light, a light that would not be overcome, a light that held steady, even when all else seemed to fade. He felt the warmth of that light wrap around him like a gentle embrace. And in the quiet, he breathed a prayer not loud or grand, but simple and true. Thank you for the light that never fails. Take a deep breath. Let the light beyond the window fill your heart. Let it chase away every shadow. You are held. You are loved. And nothing can overcome that. Bedtime takeaway. God's light shines in your darkness. Rest in his unfailing love. Let all that you do be done in love. 1 Corinthians 16:14. Eli often thought about the garden he and Miriam had once tended. It was small, nothing grand, just a patch of earth behind the house. But it had been a place of gentle grace. Rows of herbs, rosemary, thyme, lavender that Miriam would gather each morning, their scents rising like prayers into the cool air. Flowers that bloomed quietly, soft petals opening slowly to the sun, never rushing, never loud. He remembered the way Miriam's hands moved among the leaves, patient and kind, like a song without words. The garden taught him many things: that growth is slow, that seasons come and go, and that love is the soil that makes life bloom. Now, as he sat by the window watching the night, he felt that same love holding him still, not demanding but steady and sure, a quiet grace that carried him through every shadow and every dawn. Take a deep breath. Let love be your garden tonight. Let it grow softly within you. You are planted in grace. Bedtime takeaway. God's love is your gentle garden. Rest and grow in His grace. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Psalm 92:12. Outside Eli's window stood an old olive tree. Its branches stretched wide, weathered by countless seasons' winds, rains, sun, and quiet nights. Eli often watched the tree as it stood firm through everything, its leaves shimmering silver in the moonlight, its roots deep in the earth. The tree whispered to him in the softest way, not with word, but with presence. It told stories of endurance, of patience, of quiet strength. Eli thought about how his own life was like that tree, marked by storms and calm, bent but never broken. He reached out a trembling hand and touched the window pane as if reaching toward the tree itself. And in that simple touch, he felt a gentle truth. Like the olive tree, he too was held rooted deep in God's steadfast love. Take a deep breath. Feel yourself like that olive tree, strong, enduring, and gently flourishing in God's care. You are safe. You are held. Bedtime takeaway. God's love roots you deeply. You can flourish in His strength. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? Isaiah 43:19. One of Eli's favorite moments was just before dawn, when the world still held its breath, and the earth was soft with morning dew. The grass shimmered like tiny jewels, and the air tasted of quiet hope. He remembered walking in the fields as a boy, feeling the cool drops on his bare feet, wondering how something so small could feel so alive. Now, in his quiet age, he saw that dew as a promise that no matter how long the night, no matter how heavy the darkness, something new was always coming, something fresh and gentle, something made by the hand of God. This morning, as the light crept slowly over the hills, Eli took a breath and whispered, "Thank you for new beginnings." And he smiled, because he knew no matter the seasons in his heart, God's mercy was as fresh as the dew. Take a deep breath. Let the promise of morning dew refresh your soul tonight. Tomorrow holds new grace for you. Bedtime takeaway. God makes all things new. Rest in His fresh mercy. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I have continued my faithfulness to you. Jeremiah 31:3. One afternoon, Eli found a letter tucked away in an old book. The paper was yellowed, the ink faded, but the words were alive, written by a hand that had loved deeply. It was from Miriam, written many years ago, a simple note filled with quiet affection. Remember, my love, that you are never alone. Even when I am not beside you, my heart walks with you. Eli held the letter close. He let the words wrap around him like a warm embrace. Though Miriam was gone, her love remained a steady thread woven through his days. He whispered a prayer of thanks, knowing that God's love was like that letter, everlasting, faithful, and always near. Take a deep breath. Let love's gentle words hold you tonight. You are cherished beyond measure. Bedtime takeaway: God's love for you is eternal. You are never forgotten. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. The days had grown softer now, the nights deeper and full of peace. Eli sat once more by his hearth, the lamp glowing gently, the warmth wrapping around him like a tender prayer. He thought of all the years, the work, the waiting, the wondering, and how, through it all, God had been near. Not in thunder or fire, but in whispers, in moments of stillness, in the quiet love that never lets go. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. Here was the rest he had longed for, the rest that comes not from sleep alone, but from trusting in the one who carries us. Thank you, Lord, he breathed, for this peace that lasts. Take a deep breath. Let yourself rest now. You have done enough. God holds you in his arms, forever safe, forever loved. Good night. Bedtime takeaway: rest now in the everlasting arms of God. You are safe, you are loved, and you are at peace.